is what a person does when they're under pressure. It is a combination of their deep-seated beliefs, the things, their core values, and the discipline they have to execute those, to live up to them. So I think when we look at Kamala Harris, we look at her history. She came up as a prosecutor, an attorney general, into the Senate. She has lived a number of experiences that I think builded someone the kind of character that's going to be necessary in the presidency.
Hi again, everybody. It's 5 o'clock in New York. That's the choice before all of us, the voters, in November. A choice of character, whose character we want in the office of the American presidency. And what we are seeing before our very eyes, yes, we can still believe them, with just 20 days to go, are those two very distinct displays of human character on full display, in technicolor, frankly. Vice President Kamala Harris, in just 1 hour, will be putting herself in the visitor's dugout, potentially unfriendly territory. She'll be appearing on Fox News, which paid almost $1 billion to settle their election lies about 2020 to Dominion. She'll be on that network to showcase how she will walk the walk of what she's pledged to do, which is to be the president of all Americans. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's character is on display as well. And it is increasingly, if that's even possible, unhinged, at many points incoherent and inexplicable. He was on that same network, Fox News, a couple hours ago, speaking at a town hall with a woman in a county in Georgia where he won 65% of the vote in 2020, and this is what he said.
And IVF, you had mentioned before IVF.
Let's get this question, because I believe that's what this is about.
Oh, I want to talk about IVF. I'm the father.
You don't hear that every day.
I'm the father of IVF, so I want to hear this question.
So although abortion does lie with the states, what is your stance on that, and what would you say to those women?
So I got a call from Katie Britt, a young, just a fantastically attractive person from Alabama. She's a senator. And she called me up like emergency, because an Alabama judge had ruled that the IVF clinics were illegal and they have to be closed down. A judge ruled. And she said, friends of mine came up to me and they were so angry. I didn't even know they were going, it's fertilization. I didn't know they were even involved in it. Nobody talks about it. They don't talk about it. But now that they can't do it, she said, I was attacked in a certain way. I was attacked. And I said, explain IVF very quickly. And within about 2 minutes, I understood it. I said, no, we're totally in favor of IVF. I came out with a statement within an hour, a really powerful statement with some experts, really powerful. And we went totally in favor. The Republican Party, the whole party, Alabama legislature, a day later overturned, meaning approved it, overturned. The judge essentially approved it. And we really are the party for IVF. We want fertilization, and it's all the way. And the Democrats tried to attack us on it, and we're out there on IVF even more than them. So we're totally in favor of it.
I'd be here till 8 if I had to fact check all of that. I will get to some of it. It's nonsense. Just complete and utter nonsense. We played it for you in full because if that's what you're after, with 19 days to go, we don't want you to see an edited version of Run Fox. We want you to see all of that, starting with the fantastically attractive person who explained IVF to him in 2 hours. And he was, 2 minutes, I'm sorry. Now, this self-proclaimed, quote, very stable genius, calling himself the, quote, father of fertility, of IVF, which actually started in 1978, mind you. Something he admitted to learning about on a phone call from this attractive senator in 2 minutes. That's where we are. In the same town hall, he also doubles down on his comment that Kamala Harris highlighted in the last hour. His description of anyone who disagrees with him politically or on a policy matter is part of the, quote, enemy within our country. And then he talked about making donuts, like the things you eat. Well, at least I eat, when talking about energy production. And then at a rally last night, he went into this rant about Vice President Kamala Harris.
Did you see when her teleprompter crashed last week? She was talking about 32 days, Mr. Congressman. 32, she goes, and the election will be in 32 days. 32 days. The teleprompter crashed. 32 days. She kept going. I would have loved to. You know, it kicked back in. It's called a kickback. Like some people know a lot about a kickback. It's called a kickback. They know in this administration. But no, it's a kickback. It kicks back in. And it did kick back in just in time because she was about ready to eat the goat. Byron goes, yeah.
Vice President Kamala Harris's running mate, Tim Walz, addressing the reality of what having that guy in the White House would be like.
If this was your grandfather, you would take the keys away. You would take the keys away. And I tell you this, look, it would be funny if this guy were not running for president of the United States. And it would be funny if you knew that this guy, if he shuts down like he did last night, you know he's doing that when he's sitting in the Situation Room or in briefings that are important.
That's where we start the hour with NBC News correspondent Von Hilliard reporting from Kingman, Arizona. Also joining us, President and CEO of the Planned Parenthood Action Fund, Alexis McGill Johnson, and former Chief Republican Strategist and Senior Advisor for the Lincoln Project, Stuart Stevens, is here. Alexis, let me start with you and the father of IVF. Again, if you bought that, you probably know who you're voting for. But if you are a woman or a man or a son or a daughter or a mother or a grandmother or grandfather, and you think that at any point anyone you love might want to grow a family and might have a challenge, Donald Trump endangers IVF in America. And Donald Trump's abortion ban that Donald Trump's handpicked judges passed on the Supreme Court is why that Alabama court ended up where they did, largely. Talk about the threat he represents to fertility treatment in America if he's reelected.
Well, absolutely. I mean, look, Nicolle, I'm still stuck on fantastically attractive because
Me too.
If anything, he was fantastic. I mean, seriously, like fantastically unhinged right now. I have no idea what that means to be the father of IVF when you just learned about something 2 minutes beforehand. What I do know is that weekend when that Supreme Court justice in the state of Alabama came out with that ruling, really trying to lean into fetal personhood and starting a pathway to really undo our rights even further. You know, there were families that were waiting for embryo transfers. You know, there were families that could not get those embryos out of state because the whole apparatus around the IVF structure got nervous because of the danger of these abortion bans and then the freedom that these judges who are propagating an ideology well beyond ending abortion were starting to entail. So we know what is at stake in this election. We know that, you know, Trump's abortion bans have put in jeopardy contraception and IVF. They have literally led to the deaths of people like Amber Thurman and Candy Miller. And we know they will go further, right? We know what is in Project 2025, the pregnancy trackers are, the surveillance, all of the things that I think we have to be really deeply alarmed at. And he's just spouting this off as if he is, some I don't know, guru of IVF, when we all know the reality is he is so far behind with women that he knows this is politically untenable, and he's desperate, really. I think fantastically desperate maybe is where I'd end.
Yeah, and I mean, Alexis, he was in front of his own supporters, a handpicked group of Trump supporters, and so I don't know why he's trying to clean up the problem that he has around this issue. Let me show you how Vice President Harris responded to those comments.
Well, about last night. So Donald Trump, I found it to be quite bizarre, actually called himself the father of IVF. And if what he meant is taking responsibility, well, then, yeah, he should take responsibility for the fact that 1 in 3 women in America lives in a Trump abortion ban state. What he should take responsibility for is that couples who are praying and hoping and working toward growing a family have been so disappointed and harmed by the fact that IVF treatments have now been put at risk.
Alexis, this is before Donald Trump and before his hand-picked Supreme Court justices overturned a right we've had in this country for 50 years and then aggressively pursued more rights. This wasn't a partisan issue. IVF, if you needed it, it was a blessing that it existed. Still very painful, still very expensive, but a blessing all the same. And it's how every sort of non-traditional family, every same-sex couple has children. It is a lifeline. It is the reason so many people can be parents. And it seems like the ultimate hypocrisy that Donald Trump and his anti-family, anti-woman running mate are out there taking away this lifeline to having families. Just talk about IVF as a motivator. What are you hearing from voters on the ground?
Yeah, look, I was in Arizona this week speaking to a woman who flew to New York to, in essence, to hold her embryos because she was so worried about Donald Trump winning this election and not being able to get them out of state. She goes back and forth between Texas and Arizona, and she just said, if she had to choose, she was going to go to the place where it made the most sense for her to be able to continue her family. And she, enumerated, a number of reasons why IVF has been a savior for building her own family. And, and I was grateful that she told her story. The reality is women shouldn't have to, right? We should not actually be living in a world where almost every state that I've been in over the last 3 weeks, I wake up and my rights are different, right? I wake up when, I go and visit my mother in Georgia and my daughters suddenly have no rights, right, in ways. And I think that, it's both the IVF and the implication, and it's also this reinforcement of, states' rights and, the recognition that there's no world where you should have to travel to different states in order to get, and not be able to get the same level of access to care.